Hello and welcome back to the channel, welcome back to another video. In this one we're going to look at my transfer plans for game week 16. Going to have a look at what transfers I am thinking about doing. I've got 4 free transfers, so plenty to think about. Before we get into that though, let's have a look at how I'm getting on for game week 15. So as you can see on screen, game week rank at the moment of 342k. Now this is before the Monday night game of West Ham versus Wolves. As you can see, I've got Cunha and Aït-Nouri still to play. I'm on 70 points. I'm currently on a green arrow from, I think I was 417k. Now currently at a rank of 220k. So pretty good week for me. For Bruggen in goal, 1 point. Bit annoying actually, because I was 50-50 between the two goalkeepers, but I'm also, I guess, with Cunha in my team, I'm kind of hoping that Fabianski doesn't get points, so kind of fine with that decision. I mean, I don't expect much from goalkeepers anyway. Then in defence, Rico Lewis obviously scored and then got a red card. Now this could be a problem for me for next week, as he's obviously banned, but we'll have a look at that when I get to my game week 16 team. Dalot was one that I nearly moved Dalot to Timber before this game week. So, firstly, I'm glad that Arsenal conceded. A lot of people have Arsenal defence, I have none. So, I'm glad Arsenal conceded for that reason, but also because that means that I wouldn't have really been up if I did that transfer. So, glad I've got an extra transfer in the bank, even though I might just do that move this week anyway, but we'll get onto that. But yeah, I wasn't that sure that Dalot was going to start. Luckily, he did, although he only got 1 point anyway. Then obviously I've got Aït-Nouri to go Monday evening tonight. And then midfield was where the points were scored, to be honest. Semenyo didn't get anything, unfortunately. He's not looking quite as good as he has previously, but I'm still pretty happy to have him in my team, if I'm honest. Then Mbeumo, obviously 13 points, goal and an assist. Now that is useful because a lot of people sold him coming into this week. I mean, his ownership was much lower than it previously has been, so pretty happy with that. Bruno Fernandes as well, 9 points. He scored 1 goal, so very, very happy with that. He also hit the crossbar. He could have had a fair few more points. And then Cole Palmer did the bulk of the work. Obviously, an 18-pointer, I believe. Yeah, 2 goals, 2 penalties, and an assist. Dodgy assist, albeit, but we take them. And then got Cunha to go. Jackson, unfortunately, didn't get anything in that game somehow, but is what it is. And then João Pedro, again, not picking up anything, but I'm really happy with where that front three is. I do have Salah, I do have Trent. I decided to roll. I had 3 free transfers, and I decided to roll and just put out this 11 rather than dealing with Salah and Trent. I didn't really want to sell either of them, so I didn't also really want to sell anyone else. So ended up rolling. Wasn't a bad, or hasn't been a bad week so far. I'm not really sure there's many rank threats to me at this point either. I mean, Fabianski, maybe quite a few people played Fabianski. People might have Bowen, potentially, Strand Larsen. Although, like I say, I've got Aït-Nouri and Cunha, so I imagine that I'll still be on a green arrow after Monday night's game. But we'll see. Anyway, let's have a look at how I am lining up for game week 16. Okay, so starting off with the goalkeepers and the defenders. I've got Verbruggen, who has Crystal Palace at home, and Fabianski of Bournemouth away. Verbruggen's definitely got the better fixture, and Brighton are the better defence, so I won't be going with Fabianski. It'll definitely be Verbruggen in goal. Now, I've got defensive issues this week, so Anderson, who's last on my bench, firstly, he's injured. Secondly, he plays Liverpool away. He won't be playing. Rico Lewis is suspended. He won't be playing. So then the 3 on the pitch at the moment, I've obviously got Trent Alexander-Arnold. He's pretty safe. Unless this storm continues, he's pretty safe. Then I've got Aït-Nouri, who obviously is 1 yellow card away from a suspension. So if he gets a yellow card against West Ham, then he's also suspended. So he really desperately needs to not get a yellow card, or I'm in big trouble. Then Diego Dalot is also a slight problem at the moment. He plays Man City away. We know that Amorim likes to rotate his wing backs, although Dalot hasn't actually been rotated too much. Everyone else kind of has. So don't know where I stand with him long term and whether I'm going to kind of be worried every week if he's going to play. I don't really want that. And he's also 5.1 million, so there's a bit of funds there. The one thing that is noticeably missing from my defence is Arsenal. So I am interested in getting an Arsenal defender this week. I will almost certainly get one this week. It will almost certainly be Timber or Gabriel. I've got a few different routes which we'll talk through at the end that I can get to one of them. So we'll look at my midfielders and forwards, and then I'll talk about my potential transfers. But that's where we are at the moment. Let's get onto the midfielders. Right, onto the midfielders. I've obviously got Brian Mbeumo, Chelsea away. He is one player that could be leaving my team this week just because his fixtures really do dry up. And I'm not that keen on his position, and I don't hate it. He is still playing very attacking, but it's obviously much wider at this point, given that Brentford now have both their strikers back. So he may be leaving, mainly due to fixtures though. Then I've got Semenyo, West Ham at home. Really happy with that fixture. Happy to play him. He's the one forward or one attacker for Bournemouth that does seem to get good minutes. So really happy with him. Salah and Palmer are obviously going nowhere in my team. Salah with Fulham at home. Palmer with Brentford at home. It's actually quite tight for captaincy between these two. I've got it on Mo Salah at the moment, but I'm nowhere near locked on that. Really am actually pretty 50-50 at the moment, to be honest. Both of them, I mean, the Fulham defence is better than the Brentford defence when they're playing away. Or the Brentford defence in general, to be honest. Fulham defence is pretty good. But Mo Salah and Liverpool have been a joke at the moment. As have Chelsea, though. So, yeah, I don't know where I'll land on that one. Then I've got Bruno Fernandes of Man City away as the first sub. Now, this fixture is obviously pretty bad, Man City away. He's got 2 okay fixtures afterwards, though. So, I'm not sure. He is one that I could also possibly sell. Again, the one player that is notably missing from my midfield is Bukayo Saka. Now, the only way I can get Saka is if I sell Mbeumo and Fernandes to Saka and a really cheap midfielder. And I've got 2 in mind. We'll go over them at the end. But I can do basically with the transfers, because it doesn't affect the forwards. My forward line isn't going to be changing. The moves that I'm looking at are Mbeumo and Fernandes to a cheap midfielder and Saka, and then also either Lewis or Dalot up to an Arsenal defender. If it's Lewis that goes, it probably has to be Timber. If it's Dalot that goes, I think I can just about afford Gabriel. So they're kind of the moves I'm looking at. We'll talk about the cheap midfielder shortly, but let's just go through the forwards now. Okay, and the forward line won't be changing. It's Cunha with Ipswich at home, Jackson with Brentford at home, and João Pedro with Crystal Palace at home. 3 great fixtures, 3 home fixtures. Jackson didn't get his yellow card that takes him to a suspension this week, which I'm glad about, because this wouldn't have been a week where that's useful, given that Fernandes plays Man City away. I wouldn't want to have had to play Fernandes instead of Jackson, albeit Fernandes potentially won't be in the team anyway. So, but it's also one thing I don't need to think about. Like, if I do the route where I go for Saka and a cheap midfielder, I don't need to play that cheap midfielder this week. So I don't need to consider which one has the better fixture this week, which is actually relevant when we look at the 2 that I'm looking at. But yeah, 4 free transfers, 0.8 in the bank. The moves that I mentioned are probably the only ones I'll be doing. There's a world, so it'll be, if I do the moves, it'll be Fernandes and Mbeumo out, then either Lewis or Dalot out. I could probably get rid of both. That would probably mean having to get 1 Arsenal defender and 1 cheaper defender. It does also depend whether Aït-Nouri gets this yellow card tonight. So that is a consideration. I'll do a team selection video later in the week where I'll know about Aït-Nouri's suspension, obviously. So I'll have more information on that. We'll have also had Champions League games, so I'll do it after that. But yeah, I just want to talk about these budget mids because it does look like I'm going to have to buy one this week, and it's between 2 of them, so let's get into those. Okay, so these are the 2 budget mids that I'm looking at. We've got Amad Diallo and Enzo Fernandez. If I do the moves that I'm talking about, then I don't think I can get to Rodgers. I think I'm a bit short of Rodgers. If I want Gabriel, then I definitely can't get to Rodgers, I don't think. Even though he's only, like, Amad's 5.1, I think, and Rodgers is 5.3 or 5.4. Either way, it's tight. So I don't think I can get up to him. I also don't know that I need Rodgers that much. Like, this fifth midfielder isn't going to be playing every week. So I probably don't need someone to play every single week like Rodgers does. If I can save a bit of money on that, then ideal. I've got the numbers, these numbers are from Fantasy Football Hub. I've got the last 6 games. It was kind of hard choosing a range for this because obviously Amorim's only had a couple games in charge. So Amad Diallo was playing a different role before Amorim came in. So that was tough to choose. And then Enzo Fernandez has only been kind of regularly starting for a certain period as well. So the numbers aren't kind of, it's just, like I say, it's a 6 game week period, so the numbers aren't really that much to go on, but it will give us a little bit of an idea anyway. Amad seems to be getting a lot of assists, especially under Amorim. He's playing as obviously that attacking wing back role, and he's playing it really well, to be honest. I think he is the first choice right wing back. He's not playing every single game, but we know with Amorim that not many players in his system do play every game. You've got centre backs that will. You've got Bruno Fernandes that probably will. And then you haven't got many other players. So that is one thing to consider. He might not be playing every game. But that is, the same can be said with Enzo Fernandez as well. He's played 90s in the last few, don't get me wrong, but we've seen that he was out of the team for a period as well. It depends, I think it kind of depends what Maresca wants to do with that right back slot. So when he plays Caicedo as the right back, Caicedo kind of inverts into a centre midfield player with Lavia as the 2, and then that means that Enzo can push on. If he's going to play Gusto, say, at right back, I think we can take James out of the question. If he's going to play Gusto at right back, then that means that it will probably be a Lavia and Caicedo centre mid. I mean, there's not really much room for Enzo. That was what was happening previously. So it's a thing to think about. I mean, I don't think either of these players are going to be playing every single game, and I don't need them to really. And like I mentioned before, if I don't think I need the player this week, they can probably be benched, which is relevant because obviously Amad Diallo has Man City away, bad fixture. Enzo has Brentford at home. If that was part of the criteria, then it would make me more likely to go for Enzo, but I don't need to worry about that. Enzo is getting into some really good positions. Granted, and to be honest, his underlying numbers are pretty good as well. We've got XG there of 1.25, XA of 1.5, so that's nearly, that's what, 2.75 XG in 6 games. Not bad for a midfielder who's 4.9 million. Amad hasn't got such good underlying numbers, albeit he's having more shots in the box. The XG and XA just isn't there. So this is one that I do need to think about. There's also whether I can find a route from somewhere that gets me Rodgers instead is something to think about, because Rodgers just does seem to be getting pretty much all of the minutes at the moment, which I really didn't think was going to be the case. But yeah, it's one to think about for now anyway. I'll do a team selection video later in the week to go through this. A lot rests on the 8 Nuri yellow card or not, if I'm honest, so I do need that information. But if you like this video, then do hit like, do hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.